ask you how you were going.
Who? Who, me?
You.
Okay. Yeah, good. Actually, we'll be starting a journey on Saturday. We've got some catering for an event that's going to go for 5 days. So I've got a bit of a journey to get there. And then within that 5-day event, there's a friend of mine's getting married. So we'll cater for his wedding gathering there. So that's nice. The bummer part of it is that there's been a major calamity. You would have heard something, a major calamity with a cyclone, and that'll be near to where we were going. This event was organised before the cyclone, so it's very close to where the cyclone, most of the cyclone damage is. So we'll be providing some food probably for the victims of that also, which is a bit sad. But the mainstream media have said, it's not that bad. Like, just I think they're up to 11 deaths or whatever like that. But according to the locals there, it's a lot worse. Like, they reckon, the locals say that it's going to be the end count will be many hundreds dead, and if not, going up to like 1,000 plus of dead people. So, which is for New Zealand is like unheard of. So from a flooding, so that's massive, and the amount of damage to people's properties and animals and stuff is huge. So yeah, it's a bit of a calamity. So yeah, I'll be going there and doing some cooking. So yeah, pray for us, and it should be a mission.
Good luck with it, mate.
Thank you. So yeah, I was just going to say that next Thursday won't be available. The next 2 Saturdays and then next Thursday won't be able to do this. So yeah, we want to relish it today. So yeah, let's offer respect to the spiritual master. Om Jnana Timrandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmritam Yaina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born the darkest ignorance, and my spiritual master has kindly opened my eyes with a shining torchlight of transcendental knowledge. I therefore offer my respectful obeisances unto his lotus feet. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So where we're up to, we've pretty much done 7th chapter, Knowledge of the Absolute it's called, text 14, but I think we didn't cover the last paragraph. So we should do that. And then we'll recite the verse for text 15. So yeah, 7th chapter, text 14, we'll just read the verse again and then finish that last paragraph, and then we'll get on to text 15. So we'll read the verse for 14. Daivi hya esha gunamayi.
Aisha Vaisha Gunamai.
Mama maya dharatyaya.
Mama Madhurachaya.
Mam eva ye prapadyante.
Mama Vaya Prapapadayate.
Mayam etam tarantite.
Mayametan Taranchate.
Could I please, request the chapter and verse again? Sorry.
That's right. 7th chapter, chapter 7, Knowledge of the Absolute, text 14, and then we'll do 15.
Cool.
How's your Sanskrit going, Josh?
Oh, it's okay. It's a bit agricultural, but it's all right. I was talking to a guy. I had a meeting with a guy in India the other day, and I told him that I knew some Sanskrit, so he pasted a bit of Devanagari in the chat on Zoom, and I was able to read it. So.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Read it like a 7-year-old, like the dog.
Personally, I don't read Devanagari at all. Not at all. I just look at the English transliterations. That's how I speak the Sanskrit from that. I mean, yeah, I just never got around to going that far. But that's wonderful that you can read the Devanagari.
It's just, so, enrolled in that university course for first year, and when you're in the course, you have to do it. So they make you do it, and you do it, and then you learn it. And there you go. It's in my brain now. That's cool.
Yeah, no, that's wonderful. That's wonderful.
Is that what all the letters are called? Something.
Devanagari, yeah. So that squiggly writing above what we're reading in the English letters, that's Devanagari. Yeah, that's the original.
And Josh has learnt that. You've learnt that, Josh.
Yeah.
Right. Good.
That's great. Okay, Bhakti-Ma, do you want to read the English? Verse 14.
This divine energy of mine, consisting of the three modes of material nature, is difficult to overcome, but those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it.
So this verse is talking about Maya, the illusory energy, the material energy. Maya actually means energy. Maya means energy. So the energy which comes from the Supreme Being, from God. And actually, that energy works in two basic functions. In the spiritual world, it's called Yoga Maya, if you want to look at it more technically. In the spiritual world, that energy is Yoga Maya, and in the material world, it's called Maha Maya. I mean, generally when we talk, we just say Maya. Maya means energy. So, but if you want to get more detailed, then you would be more specific and say Maha Maya for the energy in the material world, and Yoga Maya for the energy in the spiritual world. So, what is the energy in the material world doing? Well, it's consisting, if the Maha Maya, you can break it into three different modes or qualities. The Sattva Gun, Rajagun, Tamagun. So guna is quality or mode, and then you got the mode of goodness, Sattva Gun, and then you got the mode of passion, Rajagun, the mode of ignorance, Tamagun. So these energies are working to keep us in ignorance, to keep us in illusion, to keep us in forgetfulness of our spiritual identity as the Atma. So by the workings of these energies, we forget our real self. Self-realization is covered over. And we also forget God, and we forget our relationship with God, and we identify with the body. So these energies are helping in that process to happen, that we forget our real identity and we assume a false identity. So under that Maya, we think, I'm a man, or I'm a woman, I'm white, I'm black, I'm young, I'm old, I'm a Hindu, I'm a Muslim, I'm a Christian, I'm a Buddhist, I'm an atheist, I'm an agnostic, whatever. I am a Kiwi, I'm an Aussie, I'm an Indian, so I'm a dog, I'm a cat, I'm a pig, I'm a frog. You get the idea. So that bodily consciousness, which we call false ego. So all this, the false ego, ahankara, everything is acting within this Maya, this energy that keeps us in forgetfulness of ourself and our relationship with the Supreme, and makes us think that we can enjoy and be happy in the material world. That's what the energy is doing. That we think we can be happy within this body, like that. So there's many things going on. The energy, is doing many things, but basically that's what's happening under this Maya, under this energy. And under this Maya, because we have material desires, we want to enjoy fly, so we get the body of a bird. We want to enjoy swimming, so we get the body of a fish. We want to enjoy sex, so we get the body of a pig or a pigeon or whatever. You want to eat meat, so you get the body of a tiger. So we have so many desires, and that's causing us to take another body, another body, another body, another body. So therefore reincarnation is going on, and life after life. So it's this Maya is creating this cycle of birth and death. Janma means birth, then Jara, old age, Vyadi, disease, then Mrityu means death, and then again another Janma. So the cycle of birth and death, which in many cultures, like in Buddhism also, they use the word samsara. So samsara means that cycle of birth and death. So under this Maya, the soul is falsely identifying with different bodies and taking birth after birth, birth and death, and so that's what Krishna is saying here. It's very difficult to overcome this Maya. So difficult to overcome means hard to get out of the cycle of birth and death. Very hard to get out of the samsara. So, but there is a way, and that's being outlined in this verse. So that's this energy, this Maya. It's very difficult to get out of the cycle of birth and death, but there is a way, and that's by surrendering. So if we surrender to the Supreme, because the Supreme Lord isn't the master of Maya, it's his energy. So that's why he says divine energy. So although we say it's a material energy, but ultimately there is no material, because ultimately everything comes from the Supreme. Everything is Brahman, ultimately. Ultimately, everything is Brahman, spiritual. From our point of view, we see matter and there's spirit. But from God's point of view, or the Supreme's point of view, everything is his energy. But so it's actually ultimately, even the Mahamaya, the material energy, it is divine. It has a spiritual origin, has a spiritual source. But because we're an illusion, we distinguish this as material and that's spiritual. But ultimately, everything is God's energy. So, but this illusory energy can be overcome if we surrender to the person that controls the energy, which is the Supreme Being, like that. And that is and then there's different processes to help one develop that surrender, like Astanga yoga and karma yoga, jnana yoga, bhakti yoga. So these are all different processes, how the soul can awaken its original spiritual identity and get free from that illusion that we're the body, and reconnect, reconnect our loving relationship with the Supreme. So there's different processes to help that process, to get free from that illusion, free from that Maya, and see everything in relationship with the source, and then ultimately be happy. And that's the ultimate purpose, is that the nature of the soul, Ananda Maya Vyasat, means the nature of the soul is to be always in Ananda, to be happy, to be blissful. So under the Maya, we are in ignorance, we're suffering. So we want to get out of that. Obviously, our nature is to be happy, so we're always looking for that. Unfortunately, we look in the wrong direction, and that's what Maya is. That we look for happiness in material things, thinking that will make us happy, but it doesn't. It just makes us suffer. So through these different yoga processes, helping us to find our happiness from connecting with the source, with the spiritual source. So that's just a little bit of a recap on things we've already talked about. Does that make sense? Does anyone have any comments or questions about that?
I was wondering, because Mahabhadra and I are reading the Krishna book, and we did have we were reading about Yoga Maya, and we were a bit sort of confused as well, because what the difference was, why they called it Yoga Maya, because when Krishna's born, it says Yoga Maya comes and covers the mother. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No, that's a very good question.
Yeah.
So Yoga Maya, how is that working? See, Mahamaya is making us forget that we're a spirit soul and that we're a servant of God, and making us think that we can enjoy without God and through material objects. Whereas Yoga Maya is also creating a forgetfulness, but it's a different kind of forgetfulness. It's acting on someone that loves the Supreme Being, that loves Krishna, but it's making that devotee that serves Krishna, that loves Krishna, forget that Krishna's God. So under the influence of Yoga Maya, the devotee is completely unaware that Krishna's God. There's no awe, there's no reverence. It's not like, oh, Krishna's so great, he's God, and he might punish me if I don't serve him. You know, I'm very afraid, you know, that I better toe the line and do what I'm told. So there's no understanding under Yoga Maya that Krishna is this great controller, God kind of thing like that. They're under the influence of Yoga Maya. They're just thinking, you know, like for example, you mentioned Krishna when he came to the world had a mother and father. So under that influence of Yoga Maya, the devotee who's acting as Krishna's mother or Krishna's father is just thinking Krishna's my son, and he's just the ultimate son. He's the very best, beautiful. He's so beautiful and so attractive and everything, and he's my son. So they're not thinking that he's God. They're thinking he's my son, and he's just so, you know, their be all and end all of everything, and they're always thinking about him and serving him and everything like that. And like Krishna's friends, right? Krishna's friends are thinking that, well, Krishna's my friend. You know, he's my best friend, and he's just the ultimate friend. But they're not thinking that he's God, because that would spoil the friendship, right? And if you thought Krishna was God, that would spoil your being his parent, you know. And Krishna's lovers are thinking that Krishna's my lover, you know. They're like Radharani and so forth, Rukmini. They're not thinking that he's God. They're thinking he's my beloved. He's my most beloved, like that. So that Maya is there, that Yoga Maya, to create, you know, just a pure sweetness in the relationship, not to spoil that sweetness by bringing in more reverence and awe, which minimizes the love. So the feeling of love will go down if there's an understanding of, like, you know, I'm very small and God is so great and everything like that. So that will, and then bring more fear into it. So that pure love will go down. So God doesn't want that. God doesn't want that pure love to go down. So he has that Yoga Maya energy that makes one just forget that he's God. But there's still services there. But just pure service done out of, you know, unmotivated love. So the love is not motivated because I love Krishna because he's God. No, it's not because he's God that you love him. You just love him, you know, just unconditionally. It's just unmotivated, uninterrupted love. It's not that the devotee serves Krishna because he's God, because he's powerful, because he's great, or whatever like that. They just love him. It's just spontaneous, pure love, you know, not motivated by knowledge that he's this powerful being that can create everything and destroy everything. They just love him. And that's what Krishna wants, and that's why that energy is there. So that relationships can be so sweet, so nice. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thanks. Yeah.
Something to look forward to. Yeah, so that Yoga Maya acts in the material world. Like when Krishna comes to the material world and he relates with different devotees, that Yoga Maya energy, that spiritual energy, is acting in the material world too.
So Yoga Maya is like a smaller, like a smaller version of Maha Maya. Maha Maya is the greatest illusion, and Yoga Maya is what Krishna employs to exist in the material plane without dazzling people with his divinity. Is that right?
I wouldn't say it's smaller. I would say it's the energy of the Supreme acting in different ways, acting in different ways. Just like electricity, right? You can use electricity to heat something up, and you can use it to cool something. Like in the fridge, right? The same electricity, it cools things down, and in the heater, the same heats something up. So it's the same electricity, but it's just acting in different ways. So I haven't heard it said as like smaller or anything like that. But it's just acting differently, but coming from the same source, but different action, different actions. And that Yoga Maya is acting in the spiritual world, which is far greater environment than the material world. It's said that the spiritual realm is 3 times bigger than the material realm. So, and it's said there's not just one universe. We're in one universe, obviously, but there's many, many more, countless. It's said like this universe is like a mustard seed in a bag of mustard seeds. So let that blow your mind. You know, this universe is just like a mustard seed in a bag of mustard seeds. Of course, modern science has no idea about that. But according to the Vedas, there's many universes. And they emanate, remember, for those of you that have heard that before, those universes come out of the skin pores of Mahavishnu. Another name is Karanadakashayi Vishnu, when he breathes out. So when Mahavishnu, the great Vishnu, breathes out, those universes come out of his skin pores, like perspiration comes out of our skin pores. He's got universes coming out of his skin pores. So that gives you an idea how big he is. He's pretty big. And that's why Maha means great. So, and Vishnu means like the, you know, controller or master, like that. So he's the great Vishnu. And then there's another Vishnu. That Mahavishnu expands into Garbhodakashayi Vishnu. So that Vishnu is one of them within each universe. So there's unlimited universes which come out of Mahavishnu, and within each universe, that Mahavishnu expands inside the universe, and he lies on an ocean that half fills each universe. So imagine a universe is like a big football, and then that's half full of water, and the top half is space. So that's where the planets are, is in the top half, and the bottom half is all water. And that Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, he lies on that water, and that's where Brahma, the first being in the universe, Brahma comes out of his navel. There's a lotus grows out of his navel, and then Brahma appears, the first created being with 4 heads in this case. And this universe, Brahma has 4 heads, the creator. And other universes that are bigger than this one, he has 10 heads, 100 heads, 1,000 heads, and so forth. You know, so it gives you an idea that they're a lot bigger. So you need more brain power to manage it all, create it all. So like that. And then that Vishnu, second one, expands into a third Vishnu, which is Kshirodakashayi Vishnu, and or also known as Paramatma, the super soul. So that one, there's a one transcendental planet, a spiritual planet within each universe, and that's called Svetadweep. So that's called Svetadweep. And that planet has an ocean of milk, like here we have salt water, but on that planet it's an ocean of milk. So Sweta in Sanskrit means, in English, it means white. So Sweta means white. So there's a white ocean, you know, milk ocean like that. And in the middle of that is an island. In the middle of that milk ocean is an island. And on that island, that's where the Kshirodakashayi Vishnu resides. And he is the source of the super soul. So the Paramatma, whom the yogis, like in Ashtanga Yoga, the yogis, they're meditating, jhana, and samadhi, they're in trance. What are they meditating on? Paramatma. So there's Vishnu in the heart. So there's a four-handed form of Vishnu in the heart. So that Vishnu on that spiritual planet with the milk ocean, he's the source of that, all those Paramatmas in everyone's heart. So that's in the heart of the ant and the butterfly and the everything, and us. You know, there's a super soul there, the Paramatma, which is guiding and directing us and fulfilling our desires and everything like that. So God is accompanying us in that form, and that's whom the yogis meditate on that form. That's the goal there of that, originally, of that meditation, like that. And yeah, that's how it all works. But yeah, it said that all those many universes, unlimited universes, is only 1/4 of Krishna's creation. So 3/4 is the spiritual world. So Yoga Maya has actually, in terms of what Josh was saying, is it smaller or whatever, but it's got a lot more happening under Yoga Maya, because it's 3 times bigger, the spiritual realm. And also Yoga Maya works within the material realm in terms of the relationships between the avatar of the Lord and the devotees when he comes. So when the Lord incarnates, that Yoga Maya is working there as well. So yeah, Yoga Maya, I would say, is, if you want to look in terms of smaller and bigger, I mean, it's probably bigger, I would say. It's more stuff happening with the Yoga Maya. Yeah, so. But like, it's all divine. I mean, it's all coming from the same source. But yeah, the problem is we're not so happy under Mahamaya because we've forgotten our spiritual nature, and we're falsely misidentifying with the body. And so when the body gets sick, we identify with that, and when the body gets old, we identify with that, and when the body dies, we identify that, or like that. The cyclones, some people die and get drowned. It's not so nice to get drowned, right? And or have your house under mud, covered in mud. So like that, we falsely identify ourselves with the body and the things connected with the body, like home and family and stuff like that. And that creates, fear and anxiety and so many things. And it's all temporary, so it all comes to an end, and we're attached to it. The problem is, and under Maya, we get attached to these things. And that's what creates the fear and the anxiety, that you're attached to something that's temporary. So that creates problems. But actually, the soul's not affected by any of that, isn't it? So the soul's not affected by old age or disease or death. It's not affected ultimately by a house being destroyed or whatever it is, money being lost or whatever like that. Because the soul's eternal, it's indestructible. And that's what in the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna elaborately explains that the soul can't be burnt. The soul can't be drowned. It can't be, dissolved in liquid. It can't be cut by weapons, can't be cut to pieces. It's indivisible, unchangeable, immortal, eternally the same. He uses many words to explain the transcendental nature of the soul. And trying to convince Arjuna that you don't have to worry about, these warriors dying on the battlefield and everything, or you dying, or the warriors dying, because the soul doesn't die. It's only the body, it's only the dress. This body's like a dress. And only the dress is changed like that. So this is the whole idea, to get free from that illusory idea that we're the body and that we can be happy just through the body. Does that make sense? Anyone want to say anything about that? All good? Okay, let's read the last paragraph. So that last paragraph in this verse starts the words. So the words. Who wants to read that?
Words mam eva are also significant. Mam means unto Krishna, Vishnu only, and not Brahma or Shiva. Although Brahma and Shiva are greatly elevated and are almost on the level of Vishnu, it is not possible for such incarnations of Raja Guna or Tama Guna to release the conditioned soul from the clutches of Maya. In other words, both Brahma and Shiva are also under the influence of Maya. Only Vishnu is the master of Maya. Therefore, he can alone give release to the conditioned soul. The Vedas confirm this in the phrase Tvam eva viditva, or freedom is only possible by understanding Krishna. Even Lord Shiva affirms that liberation can only be achieved by the mercy of Vishnu. Shiva says, Mukti pradata savasham Vishnur eva na sansaya. There is no doubt that Vishnu is the deliverer of liberation for everyone.
You want to say anything about that, Josh? Comes to mind?
Yeah, no. This is yogi a little bit, like the triplicity there represented by Shiva, Brahma, and Vishnu, and I'm not super okay with those dynamics. Like in the
Say that again. I miss. You're not super what with the dynamics?
Au fait. Like
Au fait. Okay.
Yeah. I don't know what that means.
I don't know what it means either. It's just that word that you use. It's I'm not very au fait with it. Like not as familiar with it as like in. Okay,
he's not so familiar with this idea of the Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. Is that what you're saying?
I'm familiar with the triplicity, but it's interpreted differently. Like in Ashtanga and like Raja Yoga, it's a bit different to the way that we've talked about it in these sessions before.
Okay.
Not fundamentally, I guess, but like, I see a lot of talk about, whether there's a hierarchy or whether they work together, whether they're part of the same cycle.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. So it's said that, see, in the material realm, three basic things are going on. There's a creation, and then that creation is maintained for some period of time, and then it's destroyed.
Brahma is the creator.
Yeah.
Vishnu is the maintainer.
Yeah.
And Shiva is the destroyer. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So to carry out those three different functions, you have three different personalities. However, it's said all of them originate from Vishnu ultimately. As I mentioned, from that second Vishnu, Brahma comes out of his navel from a lotus. So the source of Brahma is Vishnu. And Shiva comes one time, four of Brahma's offspring, which were generated from his mind. So that's called Manasaputra. Putra means child, and Manasa means mind. So he didn't have sex with his wife to produce these children. They just came out of his mind. So the first beings were all generated from the different mental states of Lord Brahma. So four of them were called the four Kumaras, Chatukumar. So they came from their father, from his mind, and then the father instructed his sons to please generate more living entities, procreate. Because that's his purpose, right? As a creator, you've got to create living entities. So, so he created some, and then whoever came from him, he asked them to create more, but these four said, no, we don't want to do that. We want to stay. Kumara means, like, you could say, like brahmachari, means like celibate monk. So they're always youthful. Even though they're some of the oldest four people in the universe, but they never get older than like teenagers. So they're like lifelong celibates, and they're always at that youthful age, and they have no idea about sex life or anything like that. So they're like brahmacharis and celibate monks. So they wanted to do like that. They didn't want to get involved with the opposite sex and producing other children stuff. So Brahma, the father, got angry at his children, because parents do that, right? If the children don't do what the parent says, the parent might get angry. Why are you not following my instructions? So he got angry, and out of that, when he in that angry state of mind, Rudra came out of his between his eyes, in his forehead, between his eyebrows. Then Shiva came out of between his eyebrows. But Shiva's position, even though he's come from Brahma, is actually said to be greater than Brahma. Brahma is actually, he's a living entity like us, but he's the most pious living entity. So he's a tiny spirit soul like us. In Sanskrit, it's called Vibhinamsha Tattva. So that's the category that all the souls are in, Vibhinamsha Tattva. And then, but Shiva has his own category. He's in a greater position than us, the souls. He's called Shiva Tattva. He is his own category. And then there's the other category, is the category of God, and that's called Vishnu Tattva. So all the different incarnations of God, whenever they come to this material world in different forms, like the half man, half lion, the Singer form, and the Boar form, and as Rama the king, and so many different incarnations in different forms, they're all in the Vishnu God category. And so there's the Vishnu God category, and then there's the Shiva category. He's very powerful. He's not quite in the God category, but he's not in the ordinary living entity category either, like Brahma and all of us below Brahma. So yeah, very great personalities. But the origin of all of them is coming from the Supreme. So they're all coming from the Supreme Being, and they're just manifesting. So God has manifested in the form of Brahma to create. God has manifested in the form of Vishnu to maintain. God has manifested in the form of Shiva to destroy. but they're all different manifestations. And we're also a manifestation of God, also. But we're like tiny gods. We're very minute in our power and that, but we're nothing other than God. We're nothing other than God, because there's only God and God's energy, right? There's only God and God's energy. There's nothing else. And that understanding that there's something other than God, that's called Maya. That's what illusion is. Because Maya, actually, Prabhupada explains, Maya means that which is not. That which is not what? That which is not God. So we have a conception in our mind that there's something other than God or God's energy. However, just because we say there's nothing other than God, that doesn't mean everything is God. So that seems like a bit of a paradox. But we're part and parcel of God. We're tiny parts of God, but we're not the complete God. It means, like, God can create universes. I can't create universes. And I can't maintain, I have trouble to maintain this household, let alone maintaining a whole universe. And I suppose I could destroy this house, but, I can't destroy a whole universe. So we're very tiny. So we have small powers of creation and maintenance and destruction too. But we're like tiny, tiny gods, you could say, because we come from the same source like that. So some beings have more or less potencies. And one definition of God in the Vedas says, Nityo Nityananam Chaitanas Chaitananam Eko Bahunam Yovadadadi Karman. So Nitya means eternal. There's one eternal, and Nityanam means plural number. So there's a singular number, Nitya, and plural number, Nityananam. So there's one eternal and many eternals. And then Chaitananam. So then there's one conscious being, that's singular, and there's many conscious beings, Chaitananam, plural number. So that one eternal conscious being is maintaining the many eternal conscious beings. Eko, the one. Bahunam means many. So that one is fulfilling all the desires or maintaining all the many. Yovadadati karmam. So karmam means desires. So that one eternal conscious being is fulfilling the desires of all the many eternal conscious beings. So that is, if someone says, well, what's God? That is God. God is that one eternal conscious being that maintains every other eternal conscious being. And put up your hand if you're maintaining everyone. No, we're not going to do that, because we're not God. But God is that person that maintains everyone else. I mean, there's many other ways to define God too, but that's just one way of doing it. That's one way of doing it. Another way is, in terms of definition, is that person that possesses all the 6 opulences in full. And opulence in Sanskrit is called bhaga. So one who possesses all those 6 opulences in full, that's called Bhagavan. So you'll notice, like in the Bhagavad Gita, right? It says Shri Bhagavan Uvacha when Krishna is speaking, right? It'll say Shri Bhagavan Uvacha. So Shri means like beautiful and other meanings. And Uvacha means speaking or said. And Bhagavan means, Van means possessing the bhaga, or the opulences. So what are the opulences, the 6 opulences? Who knows? What are the 6 opulences?
Attractiveness, intelligence.
Attractiveness, I'd say beauty.
Beauty.
Yeah.
Beauty.
Yeah, so that's something. What is opulent? Opulence are those things that are attracting us. Well, what attracts us to a person? I'm attracted to a person because they're beautiful. That's could be one reason. And what are the other 5? What's that?
Personality.
What about the personality? What?
That attracts you to someone?
Yeah, but be more specific. What aspects of the personality? that attracts us to someone? What attracts us to someone? Beauty. What about if someone's very knowledgeable?
Yep.
Knowledge.
So knowledge.
Strength.
Strength. If someone's very strong, we're attracted to someone who's
Form.
very strong.
Yeah.
What's that?
Form.
What's that?
Form. Like a female form.
No, that's beauty. That would fit in their beauty. We're attracted to their beauty. Their form is, their rupa, their form is very beautiful, yeah.
Renunciation is another one.
Renunciation, yeah. If someone's like a yogi, right, isn't it? Maybe that's why Josh was attracted to Ashtanga yoga. He's heard about some or saw some yogis sitting in the forest, all alone without wearing any clothes and in the rain and the wind and the sun, and they were fasting and doing austerities.
Sounds like Josh.
And they could stand on their head for a long period of time and all that, and slow down their breathing, hardly breathe and hardly eat, and abstain from all desires. And so that's very attractive. Someone's very renounced, someone's very detached, so that's an opulence also. And then wealth, if someone has immense wealth, that's very attractive. And the other one is fame. If someone's very famous people, it's attractive. So those are the 6 opulences. So it said God is that person that possesses all 6 opulences in fullness, like 100%, like completely fully. And like that picture that Josh has on his wall, when Krishna played his flute, everyone came running. Everyone, it's so attractive. Krishna's like a magnet. Krishna plays that flute, that sound enters into the ears of the cowherd girls, the gopis, and they drop everything. And they just run to that sound. Krishna's just so attractive. So, and not only the girls, but also the deers and the cows and the peacocks and the birds and the bees and all the living entities are so attracted to Krishna like that when he was on this earth. So that is also gives us an understanding, and we're part of that. So we have some beauty, isn't it? Everyone does. We have some strength, some knowledge, some fame, some ability to renounce, detach, like that. So we're small gods. We're coming from that supreme, fully opulent, all opulent being, and we're parts of that all opulent being, like that. And
Hey Prabhu, in the last verse that we were just looking at, and it says, only Vishnu is the master of Maya, therefore he alone can give release to the conditioned soul. So that makes it sound like, because in the translation it says only those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it, but then it says that he gives release. So is it our surrendering, or is it his or is it Krishna's sort of mercy, or is it both that can overcome the mode?
we get released from the Maya by his mercy, so he's in control of the button, the release button. He's got the key to get out of here. So and that release comes after we surrender.
Okay, yeah.
And that's what's mentioned in this last paragraph, to him.
Yeah.
So he's saying mum in this verse, it's emphasized, to me. Krishna's speaking, and he's saying, hey guys, if you want to get out of this material world, you've got to surrender to me. Not surrender to any other Tom, Dick, and Harry. If surrender to Brahma or Shiva is not going to help you. Or surrender to Durga or the Prime Minister of New Zealand or Australia or America or whatever, it's not going to help you. You got to surrender to Krishna. So that's what's emphasized here. You can't think, well, okay, I have to surrender to God, but everything is God. So I can surrender wherever I like, and that's going to achieve that purpose of getting out of here. No, it's not. You can't see that this is why it's specifically mentioned, mum, that the surrender has to be to God himself, to Krishna. You can't surrender to some other person That's not the complete full God. And like I said, we're all little gods, but a part of God. But you can't say, oh, I'm gonna surrender to myself. No, that's not going to help you get out of Maya. You've got to surrender to Krishna. So if you surrender to someone other than God, that's not going to help you. I mean, you can do that. I mean, that free choice is there. You could surrender to some yogi or Sai Baba or some anyone like that, or some demigod, Shiva, Durga, like I mentioned, Brahma, but that's not going to release you from the material world. And Prabhupada points it out here. Even Shiva said, even Lord Shiva affirms that that liberation can only be achieved by the mercy of Vishnu. So by the mercy of God. And Vishnu is another name of Krishna, like that. So, because what we try to do, see, when we're in Maya, we're very tricky. We become very tricky. We could call it cheating, right? We become a cheater, and we try to cheat. Okay, I understand. I have to surrender if I want to get out of Maya, but we try to avoid surrendering to Krishna. So we'll find someone else we can surrender to, which is really not surrendering. When we're trying to dodge surrendering. I'll make up my own God. I'll make up my own God and surrender to my own God. No, sorry, mate. It's not going to work, because Krishna's saying you have to surrender to me. And that's not easy. Why is it not easy to surrender to Krishna? What's the difficulty in surrendering to Krishna? And obviously it is difficult. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here on Skype in the material world talking to each other. We'd be in the spiritual world. We're still here because we haven't fully surrendered to Krishna. So, and there's a lot of other, living entities that are still here.
Do you mean things like no illicit sex, no alcohol, no gambling, no meat eating, that sort of?
Yeah, that's part of it. That's a good one, Bob. Yeah, because part of what Krishna's asking us to do, we don't want to do it. So Krishna's asking us, that to stop these different activities. So yeah, we don't really want to do what Krishna wants.
16 rounds is
different. Krishna says chant 16 rounds, so we don't want to do that.
Yeah.
So that's
in control all the time too. Like, the ego wants to think I'm in control and I'm doing this and I'm doing that and it's all about me, and and so we can't imagine it's not, that what we do isn't based on our own talents or whatever. It's everything that Krishna is giving us, and we can't even move our arms without Krishna, but we don't want to believe that.
Yeah. So what's actually happening, what you're saying is like the soul has a strong desire that we want to be the supreme. We want to be in control. We want to enjoy without that person who we don't even want to say his name, Krishna. We've left Krishna, we've left the spiritual world, because actually the soul comes from the spiritual world, but wanting to imitate Krishna and be the supreme ourselves. And that's why we've come to this material world. And Krishna's created the material world for that reason. Why did Vishnu create the material world? To give our souls who are like rebels, who rebelled from lovingly serving him and wanted to imitate his position as the center, as the central enjoyer. So that's why the material world was created. So with that desire that we want to be the supreme, obviously we don't want to have anything to do with Krishna because he's our competition, so we want to get rid of the competition. And that's what we call envy. That's a big obstacle to surrender to Krishna, is envy, because the soul's envious. He has what is envy? Someone has something you want. Right? It's a bit, and then you don't like them. See, jealousy is, you want what someone else has, but envy is like a step further. You want what they have, and then because they have what you want, I don't like them. I hate them. And that's a serious obstacle, for spiritual progress. Where you are harboring in your heart some envy or hatred for the Supreme, which is coming from your desire that you want to be the Supreme, so, and therefore anyone else that's the Supreme, you don't like them, so that's a serious obstacle. So it's said that is the first thing that we have to deal with, the very first thing. If you want to become a bhakta or a devotee of Krishna or whoever, then you have to give up envy of that person. I mean, how can you love someone if you're envious of them? No, you can't.
Wasn't a couple of words that you used when you were teaching this last time was envy is jealousy is where you don't want to harm the person, but envy is where you want to do them harm.
Yeah. So envy is like a step beyond jealousy.
Yeah.
Jealousy is you just want what they have, but envy is then okay, you have to pull them down to get their stuff, So that's like a step more. One time Prabhupada said envy means you don't like someone like that. So and because of that original envy of the Supreme, therefore that envy becomes everywhere. Like, I hate black people, and one guy came today and said, I said, oh, how did you go, your visit to your mum? He said, oh, it was nice, except she's very racist. He was telling me about his mum. So his mother doesn't like people that come from a different place or have a different color or whatever. So why is that? Why are we racist? Why don't we like people with other colors or have other religions or something, or that a bit different than us or whatever? So it's all that envy, and that is stemming from that original envy, that the soul is envious of the Supreme Being because we want to take the position of the Supreme ourselves. And because of that the flow-on effect of that as well, I hate the neighbors, and I hate you guys, and you guys are a different religion, and blah, blah, blah. We hate the animals, or we hate whatever, like that. So, and as said, if you can deal with that, if you get your original relationship right with the Supreme, then you can get every relationship right. So like someone that loves God loves everyone. And we've seen that with Prabhupada and others also. Even like real Christians, like there was one Saint Francis of Assisi, and one devotee said to Prabhupada that it was said that he used to see God everywhere and everything, and he used to love everything, and he wouldn't even hurt a bug. So, and Prabhupada said, oh, he's a self-realized yogi. He could see God everywhere, and he loved everything. So that's the thing. If we can actually come to that point of loving the Supreme, then automatically you love everything. But if you don't love the Supreme, then that filters down into that we don't really love anyone or anything. It's all very self-centered. I mean, there might seem to be love, but it's not real love, because like give you an example. Okay, the person is pleasing me, so I love them. But what happens if that person stops pleasing me? Then I hate you, right? As long as you're pleasing me, I love you. But when you stop pleasing me, if you actually interfere with what I desire or want, then I hate you. So that's the materialistic consciousness. And one example was Kamsa, right? Devaki's brother was taking her and her new husband on their wedding night to the husband's house, doing a very good service for his sister. But as soon as he heard a voice from the sky, an ominous voice saying, "What a fool you are, Kamsa! You don't realize the eighth child of your sister is going to be the cause of your death." As soon as he heard those words, that the 8th child of your sister is going to be the cause of your death, what did he do? He grabbed his sister by the hair and pulled out a sword and was going to chop her head off on the spot. And luckily, he had a very smart new husband, managed to, pacify him. And it's okay, she's not going to kill you. It's just that child. I'll bring you all the children. When they're born, if there's any children born, I'll bring them to you. And like that. But I love my sister. But if that sister becomes a cause of some difficulty for you, then you're prepared to kill her. So it's just showing that what's the condition, in the material world. So yeah, we really want to get that original relationship right. And then automatically everything else comes right. Anyone else want to say anything about that? Okay. Yeah, so surrender to Krishna, but it's not easy because of that, because we have to deal with that. Are we okay with surrendering to the Supreme? For many people, it's very difficult. First of all, we have to humble ourselves and realize that, I'm not the Supreme. I'm part of the Supreme, and that's very special. But I'm happy with that. I'm happy to be a tiny servant. For some people, they can't bear to hear that word, isn't it? Servant. What do you mean? How dare you call me a servant? I'm not a servant. I'm nobody's servant, isn't it? Some people would have a very hard time to deal with that idea that we're a servant. That's like horrible for some people. Why do you think we have such a hard time to handle that word, servant?
Pride.
Pride, yep.
Ego and pride, I would imagine.
Yep. And when we have served in the material world, how is that normally? What's been the result of that? What's that?
You get something in return.
You get something in return, but the outcome of us serving in the material world, is it normally a good outcome or a not so good outcome?
Not so good.
Generally not so good. You serve some miserly boss or something and he exploits you and abuses you. You try to serve the government, they abuse you and exploit you. You try to serve some opposite sex or whatever, or same sex or whatever, and they abuse you and exploit you. And it doesn't always happen. I mean, you might say that's very pessimistic, but
if you ask me, I would have said usually you get something good happens if you serve someone.
Well, you've got very good karma, Josh. That's why. But a lot of people
bitter and cynical to think that serving someone just gives you bad outcomes. Like, come on.
I know, but I'm not talking in every case, but I'm talking generally, and it is like that because you must admit there's a lot of exploitation in the material world and a lot of competition.
That's just then I don't know. It sounds a bit bleak to me. That's not the way I look at the world.
Yeah, I know, because obviously if you're a spiritual person, which Josh is, then you have that very positive, good outlook, and you see the good in others.
Like it's I wouldn't even call it spiritual. I just think it's positive.
Yeah. So you're going to have a positive, because that's sattva in the mode of goodness. You have that positive, outlook, and also that attracts other positive people to you and everything like that. So naturally in that mode of goodness, you're going to be surrounded by mode of goodness. So also the other people will also be in the mode of goodness. But, for many, like in the mode of passion, ignorance, they get a lot of abuse and exploitation and everything like that, and it's very difficult, and a lot of competition, exploitation, and like they say, a dog eat dog world, right? So it can be like that. Otherwise, why would we have terms like that, dog eat dog? So it can be very vicious, and like that. So this creates a lot of fear in us about surrendering to anyone. Really committing and dedicating ourselves and serving someone. Because I had this master and they trashed me. I had that master and they exploited me, like that. So we've had masters. So now whenever the term comes up, master or lord or servant, we have bad experiences, a whole line of bad experiences behind. And therefore it's difficult for us to really, surrender. because we surrendered to someone before and they abused the faith we put in them, like that. So therefore we're more cautious next time about surrendering because, we had bad negative experiences, whatever like that. So, for those kind of people, it's very difficult. Of course, if you've had all positive experiences that your, parents were brilliant, superiors and your partners were brilliant and you're, happen to have a good leaders with you or whatever, good yoga teachers or whatever, then you're not going to have so much difficulty to surrender.
What made me a positive person is not spirituality by any means. I had a bad upbringing, poverty and bad circumstances for my upbringing, and there was always like I remember seeing a flame in my heart, and it would every now and then I would remember it. But one of the main things that made me positively oriented from all that is standard positive thinking books.
Okay.
Just not spiritual, just our positive mental attitude tends to encourage itself, and then you tend to be more interested in associating with people who are also positively oriented.
Yes.
And it just gets a spiral, just as depression can become a downward spiral. The opposite is just as much of a spiral. So I don't think that spirituality is the only system that can provide like a positive attitude and positively oriented lifestyle.
Correct. Yeah. True. Yeah, I'd agree
There's
with
something
that.
more to spirituality that's beyond that.
Yeah. Yes.
But success in your field also makes you positive.
Yeah, and it's just a matter of like looking at, like, I remember being very young in school and just looking at the stuff that was going on in my life, just going, holy hell, like, this is intense. Like, fancy being in this body, witnessing all this stuff and having witnessed it for years so far, and like there's no end in sight because I'm only 10 years old. Like, okay, it is. But I remember just like identifying one or two things that were positive and going, well, at least I'm pretty good at school.
Yeah.
I can read better than most of the other kids. That's cool. And that was maybe again just the start of positivity. It's just choosing to remember and identify the things that are going well, even if there's only a couple of them, and being a bit like detached from the. Sometimes when there's so much negativity going on, it's like all you can do is like have a chuckle. It's just ridiculous.
Yes. Yeah. Definitely, you were a yogi in your past life, Josh. I would say, you're coming from a good place, so that's good, and that's carrying on in this life, so that's very good. But yeah, for many people, there's a lot of obstacles in that concept of surrendering to some authority, and that we're the servant. But for others, they can easily accept it. For others can easily accept, and
let me say one more anecdote from my youth is that I knew that I could never ever be in the military, because like in the military you've got to surrender and obey and salute someone, not because you know them to be a good person, but because they have like a special symbol on their shirt. Like, oh, I can't do that. I was like, that's not for me. Thank you. Like I'll, and it's still the case. I'm, surrendered to people based on, my intuition or good sense or earned trust, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I'm happy to surrender in those situations, but not blindly.
Yeah. And that's what the idea in the Vedas is too, is to give people knowledge of the Supreme, and so they'll understand that this person really loves me and can look after me. So if I surrender here to Krishna, then I'll be looked after and loved and maintained. And
that's right, and it works, right? And it's not like you be loved and maintained at some point after you die. It's like, no, actually it works immediately, right?
Immediately, yes, yeah.
Like that's the ultimate. That's what will make me subscribe or surrender or invest my energy and
Yeah.
time into something as if it works. You know?
Yeah. So you need to understand the person as far as possible first before surrendering. I mean, how can you surrender to something or someone you don't even know anything about? It's not possible. I surrender to the sky. You know, you don't have, there's nothing to surrender to. You know, so you need some concrete understanding about the personality that you're going to give yourself to, that you're going to, you know, submit yourself to. You know, so that's what's recommended. Not we call, opposite to that is we call blind faith, right? Just completely blind faith. But no, faith based on knowledge. So knowledge is ideal.
The five methods of absorbing information in the Yoga Sutras. Are you familiar with that? Like pratyaksha is the
yes, direct perception. Yep.
Yeah.
Anuman means speculation. Did they say Anuman?
I don't remember the Sanskrit. I just remember pratyaksha because that's like, I think, the best one. But there's like inference, like a logical deduction, and then there's testimony. So someone tells you that they're really respectable.
Yeah.
Don't remember the other ones. But I either I consider all of the Yoga Sutras considers pratyaksha to be absolutely the best one, because like, there's no better proof than your own actual personal experience of someone or something being value.
Nice. And Bhakti Mala, you were going to say something, were you?
Oh, I just I needed to tell Josh that we sold his books at the Bhakti Tree, and we hadn't seen him for a long time, and we weren't sure. We were like, oh, I haven't seen Josh for a long time. Like, well, how much are we supposed to get him anyway? So we've sold them the books. So if you're talking to Brett next time, just say, Bhakti Mala told me you sold the books. And you just tell him how much we were going to give you, because none of us knew if you came in what we were going to do. And then, so I just wanted, sorry to go off topic, but I just thought I'd tell you now because I haven't seen you for a while. But, we sold them anyway, so that's good.
I'll trade it for a meal.
Sorry.
I'll trade the proceeds for a meal.
Well, there was a few books there. So.
Yeah, there'll be a few meals then. That's good. That's good.
The halva.
Okay, so that's very nice. So let's do the next one, huh? Text 15. Let's read the Sanskrit. Read the translation. It's also very famous.
Huge purport.
Yeah, we won't cover that obviously all. So this verse is talking about different categories of persons that don't surrender. So we just read the verse about surrendering, and then this is talking about the categories of those that don't surrender to the Lord. Okay. Namam duskritino mudha.
Namam duskritino mudha.
Prapadyante naradama.
Prapadyante naradama.
Maya paharta jnana.
Maya pratrajana.
Asuram bhavam ashritaha.
Asuram bhavam ashritaha.
Okay, we'd like to ask our up-and-coming Sanskrit scholar, Josh, to have a go.
We got what?
At reciting the Sanskrit, leading the Sanskrit.
Well, only if I can say it without the tone, because I don't have.
Yeah, you don't have to sing it. You can just say it.
Tone right. Namam duskritino madha.
Namam duskritino mudha.
Prapadyante naradhamaha.
Prapadyante naradamaha.
Mayaya pahrita jnana.
Maya pahrita jnana.
Asuram bhavam asritaha.
Asuram bhavam ashritaha. Did you read it from the Devanagari or from the English?
From the English only. I'm looking at it on the website, so I didn't even see the Devanagari. Yeah.
Okay, no, but that was good anyway. That was great.
I definitely wouldn't have read it so quickly.
No, that was good. You did well.
There's nice words in there. There's hrita.
Hrita, yeah, the heart.
And, asura, oh, dangerous.
Heavy dudes, yeah. Okay, Bob, do you want to read the English, please?
Those miscreants who are grossly foolish, who are lowest among mankind, whose knowledge is stolen by illusion, and who partake in the atheistic nature of demons, do not surrender unto me.
So, 4 categories here of persons that don't surrender to the Supreme. And this is a very interesting word, one of the first words, duskritino. So kriti and Prabhupada's going to explain the purport. Kriti actually means persons that have merit. They have some good quality. They have good quality. And what is the good quality, the merit, meritorious? We have that word meritorious, some very good thing. What is the merit that we have as in a human body? We all actually have good merit. What is the good merit that comes with having a human form? Manusha in Sanskrit, it's called Manusha. Manusha Janma. Janma means birth. You have a human birth.
You're not talking about intelligence?
Yeah, that's it. Bob, you're on fire today. You're completely onto it. We have every human being you're born with good intelligence. Of course, it's not manifested when you're straight away, because we're pretty ignorant when we're little babies. But at a certain point, that intelligence manifests more and more. And we can think about very high things there. And it said, what's the difference, fundamentally between a human form and all the rest? Like any kind of animals, any kind of birds, any kind of fish, any kind of plants. What separates the human form from all the rest? Because there's 8,400,000 species in the universe. 8 million non-human, 400,000 different kinds of human forms. So what separates the human forms from all the rest is that intelligence that we can, it's said in the non-human forms, basically 4 kinds of things going on in their life: eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. Eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. That's ahar. Ahar means eating. Nidram, sleeping. Maituni means sex life. And then bayam. Bayam means fear. So because of fear, we defend. We defend. So all the species are doing that, and human are also doing that. But the difference is that the animals, non-humans, the non-humans are only doing those 4 things, whereas human will obviously be doing those 4 also. Plus, we have the option to go further than those 4 things. And that is the self-realization, God realization. Who am I? Why am I here? Where did I come from? Where am I going after death? Why do I have to die? Why do I have to grow old? Why am I suffering? Is there a solution to suffering? Is there a God? What is God? What's my relationship with God? Like that. So all these kind of higher thinking, higher consciousness is only in the human form. So that's what really separates the human from the non-human, is that higher consciousness. Now the question is, what about if you have a human form but you don't do anything more than what the non-humans do, eating, sleeping, mating, defending? Then according to the Vedas, you're not really a human. So human doesn't just mean 2 legs and 2 arms and a nose and 2 eyes and 2 ears. But human means you have a more highly developed consciousness. So if you have the human body, but you don't develop your consciousness beyond eating, sleeping, mating, defending, according to the Vedas, you're no better than a Dvipad Pashu. Now let's see if Josh can translate Dvipad Pashu.
Two-footed Pashu. Pashu.
Yeah.
Pashu, is that flower?
Animal. Yeah, Pashu is animal. So Dvi is 2. Pada is feet, legs, and Pashu is animal. So no better than 2-legged animal. So it's quite heavy. So it's not automatic that you're a human. Human really means, you develop this higher consciousness. That's interesting. And the English word human, where does it come from? Put an E on the end of it.
Humane.
Humane. What does humane mean?
Being human.
Well, no. Humane means compassionate.
Yeah.
Humane means compassionate. So that this is what a real human being is. You have these higher qualities, that a spiritually realized person would have. Like I said, a spiritually realized person loves everyone. Is very compassionate towards all living things. Not like some vicious animal that just kills anything it sees or whatever like that. No, like that. So, but this is the merit that we have. We have the opportunity to develop a really broad mindedness, a really high level of consciousness. And in the Vedanta Sutra, which is like the essence of the Vedas, that Srila Vyasadeva, who compiled all the Vedas, gave the essence of all the Vedic knowledge in very short verses, which are called sutras. So sutra is a very short verse. It's called a sutra. And that's the Veda means knowledge. So all the Vedas, that's all kinds of knowledge. Veda, knowledge. Anta means the end or the conclusion. So the conclusion or the essence, you could say, the anta is like you could say the essence or the final conclusion of all the Veda, all the knowledge. Because you have Samaveda, Rig Veda, Tara Veda, Yajur Veda. You have 18 Puranas, histories, 108 Upanishads. You have so many, Smritis and Samhitas, and there's so many things, right? There's so much knowledge. Ayurveda, Dhanurveda, Jyotir Veda, about the planets and everything like that. So, but what's the essence of all that knowledge? Very short verses. So one of them says, Atato Brahma Jijnasa. That's it. That's the whole verse. Atato Brahma Jijnasa. So Atato means therefore. So if you only say therefore if there's already something being concluded. So such and such is concluded, therefore this and this and this, right? So what is concluded? So this is coming after that. Okay, you have a human form. You have a human form, therefore Brahma Jijnasa. Brahma means spiritual, and Jijnasa means inquiry. That you should make some inquiry, ask questions. You should be inquisitive for the spiritual things, for the spiritual subject matter. They said that's the real human being, that you have a human form, therefore you make spiritual inquiry. Who am I? Why am I here? Why am I suffering? What's the solution? Like that. So that's the merit. But this word is duskritini. So you got the kriti is the merit, but you put dus in front of it. Dus makes it very bad. Means you've got very good merit, but you've misused it. You got this wonderful human body, but you've misused it. You've misused it for just what the animal's doing. Eating and sleeping and sex and fighting and defending and everything like that. And so it says of these duskritis that have this wonderful merit of a human body, but they've misused it. Then there's 4 kinds. So what are the 4 kinds? The first one mentioned is mudha. So mudha means foolish. So there's the category of foolish. They're very foolish. And the example of the foolish is an ass. The best example of a fool is an ass. Means working very hard like a donkey. A donkey and ass carries the big burden. Like in India, they put the big heavy loads on the donkey. But unnecessarily working hard. I mean, if you necessarily have to work hard, that's not being an ass. But if you unnecessarily work hard, because why unnecessarily? Because the donkey's working so hard. Why? Because at the end of the day, the master's going to throw it a bundle of grass. But it doesn't realize, because it's a stupid donkey, right, that the grass is growing on the side of the road. You don't have to carry that big load on your back to eat grass. You know, grass is growing everywhere. But the donkey is so foolish, it thinks I have to carry this big load for 12 hours a day to get that little bit of grass at the end of the day. So that's compared to a human being that just their whole life is just working like an ass. And that's very common in modern day society. People just working, you know, day after day, year after year, their whole life, their best part of their life, working so hard just to get some food at the end of the day, you know, food at the end of the day, pay bills, and their life doesn't go beyond that. Of course, we all have to work. We're not saying you don't have to work, but there should be more to life than just work. There's 2 options, right? Said you can live to work or work to live. Which is it? Live to work,
it's
work to live.
This line of thinking, because the donkey presumably can see past the fence, but doesn't have the motivation to smash the fence down or this sort of thing. I mean, I guess if they had the ability to smash the fence down, people would just make the fence stronger, I suppose. Yeah. Violence is the answer. Or maybe just inquisitiveness and curiosity.
So the idea is alongside, working to maintain the body, we have to get some food and shelter, but we should also have some time for that spiritual inquiry. But if we have no time for spiritual inquiry, just simply work hard like an ass, then that's criticized according to the Vedas. Then the Vedas is very critical of that mentality, because of course every other species is working hard. Like, I mean, I got cows here, and the whole day long they eat. That's all they do. They just eat and then they sleep. But human life's not meant to be like a cow or like an ass like that. Just whole day is for food. We meant to keep some time for like what we do, right? Some time for meditation, some time for chanting, some time for yoga, some time for reading spiritual books. That's important to do. Otherwise, we're just like a cow or an ass, according to the Vedas. So that's one category. Another category is Naradhama. Naradhama means, Nara means human. Also another word for human is Nara. And Adama means the lowest. So it's the lowest of humans. And that's related to this point that human life is like the highest in the evolution. And in this evolution of reincarnation, you get this human form which can get the self-realization, God-realization. You've got that highest evolution, but you're using it for the lowest things. You're using it just to have, fancy kind of eating, in some restaurant, and some fancy kind of sleeping in some skyscraper, or some fancy kind of sex, or some, up in some penthouse suite or something. And some fancy kind of defense in terms of push a button and the nuclear bomb just goes and kills, a million people. So you've had that very high evolution to get out of the material, to get mukti, moksha, liberation. You can get liberation as human form, moksha, mukti, but you haven't used it for that. You've just used it for animal stuff, but in a more fancy way. So that's called Naradhama. And then Maya Prahita Gyan means you have knowledge, but it's stolen by Maya, by illusion. So you have not, and then what's the example of that category? Maya Prahita Gyan is like the scientists and the philosophers and the academics. you know, for not all of them, because some of them are self-realized God conscious, but many of them are atheistic. You know, there's no soul, there's no God, there's no such thing as spirituality. It's just, you know, this one life, and you know, like what I was taught by my teachers at school. You know, you evolved from a monkey, you know, your great-great-grandfather was a monkey, you know, and then we all come from a big bang and everything like that. So this is what, you know, they have knowledge, but it's stolen by illusion. It seems like it's knowledge, but it's actually not real knowledge. It's not real knowledge. It's just illusion. But they have a lot of stuff in their head, but it's just illusory kind of, you know, philosophy or whatever. It's not real philosophy. It's not real knowledge. And the fourth category is asuram. That means they're full on. It's not just that, you know, they're ignorant, like that there's the soul and there's God, but they are full on certain that there is no soul and there's no God, and there's only one life. So they're not like sitting on a fence like agnostic. I don't know, I'm not sure, but no, you know, there's no God, or I hate God, or like that. You can't talk about that word, otherwise they get very angry. If you bring up God in front of these asuras, they get very angry. They get very angry like that. So that's an asura. They're very envious. So that's what we're talking about before. So those that are very envious, they're called the asuras. They actually hate God. And if they could kill God, they would. Then like that. So those are the four different categories. So that's about it from me. Time's up for me. But would anyone like to say anything? Any comments, any questions?
I'd like to say thank you so much. Now, we won't see you next Thursday, you said.
Correct. Unless something miraculous happens and my catering falls apart, and then I'll let you know. Yeah.
All the
See you tomorrow, Bhakti, and Josh. I hope I see you soon too.
Yeah. Thank you.
Bye.
Really nice.
Hey, Josh, is there anything you wanted to say in regards to those last things we talked about?
No, but that's a new word for me. Kritin. It's a new word.
Yeah, kriti comes from, if you break that word dus kritino, it comes from the word kriti.
Yeah.
Having good, Prabhupada's going to explain the purport. Having good merit, some very good qualities, but dus in front of it that's a very negative connotation. Dus, so it gives it the opposite.
Yeah.
You have some very good potential, but you've misused it for some very bad purpose.
Yeah.
Like that. It's like, say someone's super rich, but they use that money to create weapons or something and kill people or something. But I mean, could use it for very good things, you know, but you used it for something bad. You know, like a knife in the hand of a doctor can save your life, but the knife in the hand of a thief can take your life. So, you know, potentially the knife is a very good thing, but, you know, it can be used for bad things. So, yeah, we've got a good brain. But if you can use that good brain to do, you know, to help people improve their welfare and make people's life happier. But you can use that big brain to destroy and create terror and havoc, and as you know, so yeah, we've got something very good. But what are you going to do with it? You know, so if you don't do good things with it, that's called duskritini.
Beautiful. Love it.
It's a big responsibility, human life, as you know. It's a big responsibility. You know, big responsibility. Yeah.
And these stories that we tell, you know, they're to help us remember that it's a big responsibility and to take it seriously and to do the best we can.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Lovely to see you.
Yeah, you
Take
too.
care. All the best, Josh.
Cheers.